Welcome to the All Elite Wrestling Podcast. It's All Elite Wrestling Unrestricted, the official podcast of AEW. Tony Schiavone, my longtime close personal friend, Aubrey Edwards.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for asking, man. Crazy time, but it's great being able to talk to you. And our special guest today, and I say special because he's one of our favorites, and I say that sincerely, Shawn.
Really?
Yeah, I do say that sincerely.
Wow.
Because I have a lot of fun. Look, there are a lot of guys and gals in AEW that don't have the personality that Shawn Spears has. I mean, they really don't. So
I agree 100%.
A lot of people on social media will disagree with you there. A ton.
Well, what the hell do they know? Okay. Shawn Spears, I'm going to read down the list of Shawn Spears' accomplishments. You ready?
I have a list of accomplishments?
Yes,
it's a big list. It's a big list.
Oh, this should be quick.
Okay, no, it should be good. You should like this. 3 times Ohio Valley Wrestling Southern Tag Team Champ, 3 times Ohio Valley Wrestling Television Champ, Florida Championship Wrestling Tag Team Champion, WWC World Tag Team Champion, ACW Heavyweight Champion, TCW Heavyweight Champion, Pure Wrestling Association Champ, PWA Commonwealth Champ, and in 2012, Pro Wrestling Illustrated rated you number 180 of the top 500 in wrestling.
Told you it was long.
See, pretty good, huh?
Your wiki homework was fantastic. Good job, Tony. Nicely done.
Here's the good thing about this, Shawn. I don't do the homework. Ha.
That's just a well knowledgeable man. Funny thing about those OVW accolades, there was a time where I had the OVW Heavyweight Championship, Television Championship, and Tag Team Championship at one time, but it's not listed there because our television only spanned out in certain counties. So in different counties, like in the old territory days, guys would be a champion over here, and then they wouldn't be a champion in this city. That was a cool thing about OVW. Just a little tidbit fact that's not listed there in my list of accomplishments. I was a champion. You just not listed there, big guy.
I missed it.
So we missed that 10th bullet point. We'll have to we'll have to talk to the research people and make sure that that gets updated in the future.
We want to talk, though, first of all, we got a lot to talk to you about. I want to talk, first of all, about what's been going on with you in AEW and what's been going on with AEW. Crazy time, isn't it? I mean, to be a wrestler and to be a person that's involved with our business.
I think it's a crazy time kind of for everybody. And I agree with you wholeheartedly, but not only for us as performers, but I think for our audience. You know, the beautiful thing about having live shows is, you know, piling your buddies into cars or your family into cars and spending your hard-earned money and driving to a show to watch 3 hours of good wrestling. And right now that's kind of non-existent for a lot of our fans. Luckily, obviously, we're able to perform weekly television still, thankfully. But, as a performer, I'll say it first and foremost, it's not the same. You know, our audience is 97% of why we do this. So it's missing, but it's a tough time for everybody, not just us. Everybody's going through a very difficult time right now.
So speaking of audience, because I mean, I 100% agree with you. Like the audience is a huge aspect. Performing for fans is huge. And I think we all miss it. But one of the things that I really loved about working with you recently is how you've sort of become this big part of our audience. Like, I think the first live show we did without fans, like you and MJF were like betting on different things. Like you've got your little blocks making noise. Like, what has that whole process been like? And are you given any direction for like, be a fan?
So the idea was Tony's, actually. The night before television, he called and we talked for about 20 minutes and he said, I have this idea. I want to put you and MJF in the crowd. And I kind of just want to give you guys, free reign to go out and do what you guys want to do and bet on some matches. And I thought that was a hilarious concept. And you pretty much can't ask for a better charismatic dance partner than MJF. So when they kind of put us out there, they just said, yeah, do whatever you want. Have some fun. I'm like, well, can I eat food while I'm out here? I'll be hungry. They're like, yeah, go ahead. MJF's like, can I have a glass of wine? They're like, yeah, go ahead. And we're like,
oh, that was a bad idea.
Well, for him, he's a lightweight.
For him.
But the concept from there just kind of kept building. And here's the thing. And I tell this to some young talent, being out there as an audience member is an opportunity in itself. You might not get that television time in the ring performing, or you might not get that promo time backstage in a segment or a live mic in the ring. That in itself, being an audience member, is an opportunity. The camera is going to catch you. I said it recently to a few other talent. I said, We were out in the crowd, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I said, I dare you to steal the camera from me. And I dare you. If you can do it, then I'm not doing a good job, but good luck. And I think that's when I pulled out, I tailgated on the back of a golf cart. So it's just finding different ways to stand out, show some personality without taking away from the actual in-ring product. It's a very slippery slope and you kind of have to pick your spots. But at the same time, it's an opportunity to showcase any kind of personality, get over any kind of catchphrases you're trying to do, or just in general, have a good time, man. That's what it's all about anyway.
Well, you look like you're having a good time out there. I mean, I know it's a job and it's part of the show, but it looks like you and MJF, Wardlow, and some of the ladies like Britt, and even on the other side, are having a great time.
It adds to the show, I think, for the performers in the ring. When it's silent, or when when that energy of the audience isn't there, you feel the bumps a little more. You feel yourself losing breath a little quicker. The energy, the adrenaline isn't pumping as much as it normally is in front of a live audience. So I think to have your peers out there and, people that understand the industry and people that just overall want to have a good time and are kind of helping the match or helping the segment, whatever is actually taking place at the moment, it is a massive boost to us as in-ring talent. So I'm just trying to help in any way I can, while at the same time taking advantage of a good opportunity.
Absolutely. So we've got we're basically filming like every other week now, doing some live, some tape shows. But on the opposite, and we had talked to Tony about this on a previous podcast, like the crazy day in Atlanta where we basically filmed like 6 episodes of TV or whatever in a row. I know we kicked off the day with you and Cody as the first match in the TNT Championship tournament. Are there any other matches that happened during the day? And like, what was that day like for you? Because I know for everyone else, it was a little bit different.
That was a very packed day. Funny thing is, Tony, I don't know if you're aware of this. You might be, actually. I think I was supposed to do commentary with you.
Yes, I know.
It was going to be scheduled to, I was told the night before, because I think we did live TV. That's right. And then I was called after that. And Tony's like, hey, Tony Khan, sorry. Was like, hey, I think you're going to be on commentary tomorrow with Shivani, and it's going to go for about a month. And I was like, I haven't been nervous like a ton in a very long time. I get nervous before every match, but I wasn't like, oh my God, like I was in that case, because number one, I'm out there with arguably one of the greatest call men in the business today. But now I got to step up and hold my own. So it was a big, like a challenge that I got really excited about, but I was also very nervous about. Luckily and thankfully, it worked out for the best, because you have one of the greatest of all time, Jericho, coming in, and it just added a whole different dynamic to the show. And obviously Jericho did a fantastic job of, building up each talent and making matches feel bigger or feel as big as they were. So that was wonderful. But I was really looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll get to do it again soon at some point, Tony.
I think we will.
You're gonna have to try and steal it from me, though, baby. When I get going, I get going.
No, you know what I mean? I don't want to. Listen, I don't want to steal it from you, because I want you to be Shawn Spears on the microphone. I wanted Chris Jericho to be Chris Jericho. So don't worry about me trying to steal it from you. I think there will be a chance. As Shawn, I knew that when I arrived that day, it was going to be me and you. Then I was told Jericho was here. I thought Jericho was just going to sit down and do like a couple of matches that related to the Inner Circle. And I didn't know till Jericho sat down beside of me that it was going to be Jericho the entire day. So that's how wrestling is. You never know sometimes until the last minute.
Right. And at the end of the day, you got to be able to step up and adapt, or you kind of get left behind. And that's the beautiful thing about pro wrestling. I remember I did it once for AEW Dark. I did a commentary with Excalibur. It is an extremely, extremely difficult job.
Oh, yeah.
It gave me a whole new appreciation to how on point you need to be and how careful you need to be. Because I was almost like a color aspect of it. I was a heel. I was a bad guy on commentary, but I have to walk that fine line when I'm talking about baby faces. And I'm talking like there's so many ins and outs that you need to be aware of at all times. It's a very difficult job. So kudos to you and Chris, Tony, because you guys did a wonderful job. Obviously, it was all over social media. You guys killed it, and it added to those shows. Sorry, Aubrey, I kind of got drifted away. There was a few other matches that day. I think they were enhancement matches. Mm-hmm. But the thing, I remember looking at the board, and I want to say there was roughly 20 some odd matches.
There was a lot.
There was so many matches, but not once. And I remember kind of stopping and looking around. Not once did I see people down. Did I see them kind of complaining? I didn't see anybody whining. I didn't see anybody, we had a very short short-staffed roster. I think we were rolling with about 20% of our active roster and our active television roster. So again, it was a wonderful opportunity for younger talent to step up, get a little bit more TV time, and that includes myself. I got a great deal of television time during the course of those 2 days. I think I made a joke on Twitter where somebody said something about my career previously, that I was barely on TV. And I think I actually went back and did some number crunching. And in those 2 days, over the course of 2 weeks of tapings, I was on TV more minutes than I had in my entire 2018.
I believe it.
Wow.
And I went, ooh, wow. I go, wow, that's very telling. But again, like Tony just said, those opportunities are going to pop up. And when you have to go 20 minutes on television because we're short-staffed or time gets added or for whatever reasons, you have to be ready to adapt. And that's the world of pro wrestling. That's the top level. So I'll take full advantage of it anytime I can get it.
I want to go back and ask you, you mentioned about doing the commentary with Excalibur and did that, once you did the commentary and then you go back to the ring, did that change anything that you did in the ring, your perspective of what's going on by watching a match and calling it?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So I was always very good about trying to find camera shots, and I would, let my producer or some of the cameramen know, like, hey, look, when I kind of do this, I want to get this shot. So having that commentator's perspective, it forced me to kind of almost count in my mind, okay, they're going to be talking about this moment. They're going to be putting their own little spin on it. I need to give them time to do so. So if I rushed past what you were trying to explain, if I wasn't patient enough in terms of what you were trying to describe to our audience, we were going to miss that moment.
Right.
So I just I felt I was always good about slowing down in the ring and finding moments and finding enough time. But I really kind of focused on finding more time if needed to let you guys tell the story that I'm trying to convey. So it was more just focusing on knowing that the product is just bigger than myself. It's a massive team effort. It's the other guy I'm working with in the ring. It's the commentators. It's the cameramen. It's the lighting crew. It's a big production. And in order for that story to be told properly and told the right way, all key ingredients need to be cooking as best as they can be. So just focusing on slowing down and letting you guys do what you do best. And that's pretty much make us look like stars.
I want to also go back and talk about your match with Cody at All Out, where you became the chairman of AEW and you cracked him over the head with a chair.
Well, that was Fyter Fest last year.
That's Fyter Fest, yeah.
Was that Fyter Fest? Okay, sorry, Fyter Fest.
Well, the Fyter Fest, and it's set up for All Out, because that was the first time that Shawn and I actually worked together, like in any capacity.
You cracked him over the head with the chair, and that set it up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So did he say lay it in? Because you did.
That sounds like a Cody thing.
I did. It's funny that, you get nicknamed the chairman, and then you hit a guy once with a chair, and then you never touch anybody else with a chair since then. It's kind of the moniker is funny, but to that point, I mean, that created a lot of traction, a lot of buzz, both positively and negatively. Here's the thing with Cody, and we go, the history between us is pretty well documented. We go back a very, very long way. That guy is never going to half-ass anything.
I know.
If you put him on top of a cage, he's going to moonsault off. If you hit him in the head with a chair, and I say, man, look, get a hand up, he's going to go, no. He's going to say, swing for the fences. And as a performer, we have the same mentality. You'll see him say it a lot publicly. When he says that he's going to outwork you, when he says he's going to outdog you, when he says he's going to outperform you, he means it. Mm-hmm. What he may not understand is I'm that guy too. So I can't also half-ass anything. So if I'm going to swing for the fences. Obviously, that's millimeters and microseconds. When they say timing is everything, they are paramount in professional wrestling, because if you're off by even a fraction of a, millimeter, obviously, as we saw at Fyter Fest, bad things can happen. Having said that, and I'm pretty sure I could say this with confidence because he'll agree, if anything, it added to the story, it added to our setup.
Oh, absolutely.
Leading into All Out, but every time he kind of rubs the one side of his head, he's always going to remember me. So, that we're kind of the same guy in terms of performance and in terms of, putting ourselves out there and not half-assing anything. And I think we're going to be tied at the hip at some point, like I think for the rest of our careers to some degree, not just based on this, but who knows what's happening in the future. Regardless, we're going to go all out for, no pun intended, for our audience in any way we can.
Nothing wrong with that. We are talking to Shawn Spears, and we're going to talk about the TNT tournament that he was in and about his road, some more of his road to AEW.
This is AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of AEW. Aubrey Edwards and Tony Schiavone here with the amazing Shawn Spears. One of the people that I actually like working with the most, by the way. And I'm not saying that just to kiss your ass. It's true.
Oh, you're one of my most requested referees, especially if I have some shenanigans taking place, which I have in the last few months.
We've had a couple comedy matches together, and I really, really appreciate it because a lot of times, like, I know I get booked in kind of the more like serious authoritative role. So anytime I get to kind of break away from that is like, I really appreciate it. So like push-up contest. Actually, that kind of leads into the question I had. I wanted to talk about your match at most recent Double or Nothing with Tully on your underpants. So like my favorite part of that is I knew you were going to have something there, but you didn't tell me what it was. Mm-hmm. So when your pants came down, because of the coloration, I seriously thought your balls were out.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to have to pull like a fucking Tommy Young shit here? Like, I mean, I like Shawn, but I'll pop him back in if I need to. Like, what the fuck's going on here?
No, don't worry. I doubled up. I had two layers because,
You're a good man.
I've been around long enough to know that things can happen and I'm not going to leave anything to chance on pay-per-view, and obviously I got to keep in mind my audience and who's watching. It was mainly designed to be a comedy bit, but it was designed, it was a last minute addition to the card. For one, I think I did a news segment trying to set it up on a Wednesday and the match happened on a Saturday. Mm-hmm. But I also sat back and if you look at the totality of that card, it was stacked from start to finish. And, when you got the Stampede match and you got the TNT Championship final and then you got the ladder match, like you have so many different elements of professional wrestling on one card. How can you be different or how can you at least fit into this card with the time allotted, which I believe was about 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
I think there was 8 total, like
right,
like including entrances. Yeah.
And this is one of those things where the beautiful thing about AEW is talent has freedom to go ahead, go out and do what you want. Now the boxers, I didn't tell a lot of people about. I told our cameramen, I didn't even smarten up the announcers. Tony, you know that. I didn't smarten up anybody. And that includes a lot of the EVPs. They didn't know. Tony didn't know either. It was just something that I went out and did on pay-per-view. Because in my mind, I was going to get people talking about me one way or the other. That's just one way of, in my opinion, trying to stand out, trying to have a memorable moment, good or bad, whether it's a swing and a hit or a swing and a miss. One way or another, I want people talking about me along with this pay-per-view. So in retrospect, that might not have been the best way to go, or it might have been a very entertaining way to go. I felt if you can find me a better entertaining 5 to 8 minutes, knock yourself out. Would it have been suited better for TV? Probably. It was probably not a pay-per-view quality match or segment. Probably would have fit better on TV. Because at the same time, I have to remember that people are paying a lot of money to watch this pay-per-view. And that might not have been something that they were looking to see or expecting to see or wanted to see. So going forward as a performer, I need to keep that in mind. But at the same time, I wanted to try and offer our audience something different, whether it be, a little break in the seriousness of a lot of high caliber, high octane matches on that card. Like you got Moxley and Lee and like, they're out there killing each other for the world championship. I just tried to find a moment. I mean, you guys could probably tell me better. You were in the ring with me, Aubrey, so you saw what was going on. But Schiavone, I'd like to get your point of view from where you were sitting in between, when you're sitting there with JR and you're sitting there with Excalibur. I mean, I can only imagine the looks that you guys might have been giving each other. And I don't get offended. It's wrestling. I don't get offended. So please, what'd you think?
Well, here's what I think. First thing I thought of when I saw it was, does Tully know this is happening? That's what I thought, okay? And as a result, though, you cannot deny, and I don't think Aubrey can, anybody who's been watching social media, that as a result of that, Tully gave one of the most ass-kicking interviews with you in the back that I think is really just going to enhance your direction forward. I think you kind of fell into something here.
He didn't know either. I did not smarten him up as well.
I mean, if Boss Man doesn't know, then Tully absolutely doesn't know.
Yeah,
right?
Nobody knew. But to your point, we had a couple conversations afterwards because he hasn't been seen on TV. Obviously, the whole pandemic and thing kind of, it kind of shut down a lot of people, and he couldn't be seen for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's the first time people have seen him, and they see him in that capacity. He wasn't too thrilled. And to your point, Tony, I've watched it back on a few occasions, and it's probably one of the best promos that I have been a part of or seen in probably a couple of years. Mm-hmm. I got goosebumps kind of thinking about it now because, this is Tully Blanchard. This is Hall of Famer. This is one of the greatest of all time. And he still has it. Like he I never questioned it for a second, but if you don't watch that and get motivated or fired up, or if you don't feel something, then you don't have a soul. But I got the message loud and clear, and I think you're right. I think we fell into something, or maybe it was a plan all along there, Siobhan. Maybe it was a plan all along. Not just a pretty face. Not just a pretty face.
We have discovered something. We have unveiled something here on Unrestricted. No, that interview, and I can say this truthfully because I was a part of the Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a part of the Horsemen, but I was there when they were formed. That was reminiscent of a Tully Blanchard pissed off at Magnum TA or Dusty Rhodes interview from the old TBS studios.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I mean, that I agree. That I went, holy shit, that brings us back, and that was tremendous. So hopefully, moving on from there, it's going to start some great things for you because, hey, man, I'm sincere. You deserve it. You really do.
There's no going back. I appreciate that, but there's no going back. I think I'm much more. Tully brought up a good point. What do you want to be remembered for? I think coming over to AEW, I just wanted the opportunity to kind of show different layers. I can do a little bit of commentary. I can be comedic if need be. I can rifle someone in the head with a chair. I can hold my own against some of the best talent in the world today. I'm probably, I could say this with confidence, I'm a very well-rounded performer. I can do a little bit of everything at any time. But to Tully's point, what do you want to be remembered for? Do you want to be remembered for haha? Do you want to be remembered for being a jack of all trades? Or do you want to be remembered as being a champion? Do you want accolades? Do you want people to go, yeah, I remember when he beat so-and-so for the world title, for the TNT title, for the tag team championships? That kind of struck a chord. And he brings up a very, very good point. And I mean, he's very well decorated himself, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. Unfortunately, though, we probably won't see the Shawn Spears News Network anymore, which I loved.
How good was that?
Absolutely.
Huh?
I absolutely
so
loved
good.
it.
So good.
Yeah, it was tremendous.
Again, it was just the freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to go ahead and do what you want. Literally, I scribbled down 3 sentences on a piece of paper and formed everything around that. And they said, go ahead.
Yeah, it was tremendous. I want to talk. You were in the TNT tournament. That was something that TNT wanted. That I think is kind of like our television championship. Mm-hmm. And what do you think about that? I mean, you had a great match, and you were part of it. You did well in it, and there's a chance we would see you vie for the championship.
That title in itself, the TNT Championship, is tailor-made for guys like me. Mm-hmm. Right. I've always seen myself as a United States champion. I always seen myself as as an intercontinental champion growing up as a kid, and the TNT Championship fits right in along with what Tully and I are going for. Mm-hmm. I think that makes the most sense, being a part of that tournament, groundbreaking, history making. Yep. But of course, I draw my, arch, whatever you want to call that guy. He's a Cody. So, I run into, that's 2 roadblocks I've run into with him. But timing is everything. Tully and I, right. Especially recently, we have a plan in place, and I think we're going to be in the TNT title picture sooner rather than later, but timing is everything. Everybody's going to be gunning for that championship, especially now that it's an open challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's made it open to everybody. So, while he's paying attention to that, he might not be paying attention to, someone sneaking up behind him.
To me, as just not only as an announcer, but as a fan, to me, a television champion, a champion that defends the belt on television, always work better as a heel. Arn Anderson was a great one. Tully Blanchard was a great one. Those heels that each and every week did something to keep the title that was underhanded. That to me, that was my feeling on that. As I'm not questioning what we're doing right now with Cody, because I know, like you said, Cody will do anything. He'll outwork anybody, and that's why he's on there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it was always meant to be like one of those. It's kind of like, in a way, like, back in the old boy. I'm gonna date myself here, but back in the old days, it worked better when the NWA World Champion was the heel. Harley Race came into all these territories, and he screwed over the top babyface, and that was kind of the hallmark of him being the world champion.
Right.
So
there was money in the chase. You
exactly.
hated this guy to the point where you wanted to see anybody beat him. And if the heel was doing his job, it didn't matter who it was. They just wanted to see him lose.
Right.
On the flip side, here, if you look at who our champions are, with Mox having the world championship, Cody having these are two of our top baby faces. These are two of our top good guys. They're also very top talent contenders.
That's right.
Who can you see dethroning these guys at that moment? And that list is very short, in my opinion, if anything. So it's different, it's unique, but at the same time, I don't think it changes the mentality. The goal is the same. Cody and Mox, those two guys are on top right now. There's only one way to go when you're on top. You know what I mean? A guy like me who doesn't really have much to lose anymore, I think hitting, rock bottom on that pay-per-view recently against Dustin kind of put us on path to who knows what. But at the same time, we can only go up. We can only go up. And at some point, if you're on top too long, you get a little sloppy. I don't care how hard of a worker you are. You're not paying attention. You're not looking over your shoulder as much as you used to. You get a little too comfortable, and that's where you make mistakes. And that's where guys like me, who've been around for almost 19 years, take advantage of those mistakes.
So I've got kind of a question on that topic, because obviously the goal is always to get the championship, have the title, defend it, all of those things. But kind of more on a personal level, what were your goals coming into AEW, kind of behind the scenes, if anything? Kind of touching on the whole thing you have with Tully right now, what is your legacy? Obviously in-ring is one story, but is there anything that you're looking to do outside of the ring?
So that's a great question. I'm glad you brought this up, because you see a lot on social media. It goes back and forth. I'm used to it. I'm used to seeing both sides of the coin, good, bad, or indifferent. But a lot of people thought that I came into AEW to go right into the main event and right to the top of the mountain and, get all the titles thrown on you and, push. Not the case. Exactly. I came over here to enjoy the remaining years of my career. I'm much more closer to the end of my career than I am at the beginning. I feel great. The schedule has allowed me to heal a lot of nagging injuries. I could last another 3 to 5 years in ring with ease, comfortably. The other very luring thing was the creative freedom. I think anybody watching this will agree that in the course of a year, I've been able to speak a lot more, show personality a lot more. The Shawn Spears News, for example, was a great example of that recently. But I might not have received those opportunities anywhere else. I didn't receive those opportunities anywhere else. So it's just a matter of coming over here, showing what you can do. And then at the same time, the last thing I expected was to be put with Tully Blanchard. Wow. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Things like that would have never happened anywhere else. That was not even fathomable to me, 3 years ago. It's a refreshing twist, and it gets me excited all over again. And I get excited about ideas, and I get excited to get challenged. Go ahead and say whatever you want. Well, now it's on me to make it good. So if it flops, there's no one to blame but myself. You know what I mean? So now it's just, I feel like a young upstart again by trying stuff and trial and error. Oop, that didn't work. Oop, don't do that again. Let's start navigating towards this way. And you kind of just, again, you peel back layers. When you talk about guys that have been around for, 25, 30 years like Chris Jericho, who's constantly reinvented himself time after time after time again. You're talking about a global megastar. Well, the underbelly of that as well is that there's guys who have been around for 10, 15, almost 20 years that are not that legend status, that are not those top, Hall of Fame bound guys, but they're still works in progress. They're still finding layers to their character. They're still finding layers to their personality that, when you peel them back, so like, who knows what's underneath there? And that's the exciting thing for me coming here in AEW. Like, sometimes I don't know what I'm capable of. And that to me is exciting.
Damn.
We're talking with Shawn Spears. Shawn, I wanted to ask you about you being from Canada, and one of your finishing moves is that modified sharpshooter. Is that an homage to Bret Hart?
It is. I actually reached out to Bret a few months ago. Just, I have a school in Apopka, Florida, and when you're kicking around trying to come up with new ideas, you're very well aware of the fact that you're not going to really invent the wheel any more than it's already been invented. You can only kind of, build on top of it. I'm not going to invent any new moves or nothing like that. So I was kind of racking my brains, and I just started thinking back to my childhood. What did I love as a child? What is one of those things that is kind of paramount in the wrestling world? And, I was looking for a submission, and the sharpshooter popped into my mind, and I was like, well, everybody kind of does one. This person does one, that person does one. And I was like, well, I'm just going to ask Bret. And I actually reached out, and he got back to me. He said, yeah, he goes, just, do me a favor and win with it every now and then. So, because, like a lot of moves nowadays, they're either, transitional moves, or they're moves that are, gotten out of to, lead to something else. And I agreed, and I thought it was a great idea. And it just took me a while to kind of present it. So, yeah, it's definitely paying tribute to a Canadian icon, a legend. And, the fact that he kind of gave me the nod of approval and go ahead, and that just makes it a little bit more special to me. I'm not going to change the name. I'm not going to change anything like that. How dare I? How dare I even think about doing that? It's the sharpshooter, will always be the sharpshooter. And it's not the last you can see of it.
God, so good.
Again, it's like if I would have tried to pull that, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, they'd be like, no. No. It's like, man, Bret Hart said I could. Bret said I could. Like, it's just like a kid in a candy store. And that's like, so Tony, let me ask you as well. How many years have you been in the industry total?
Since 1983.
You've seen it all. You've done it all.
Yeah.
You've been like, you were there when guys were first starting out, and you couldn't, or maybe you could, but you didn't picture them becoming the global stars that they finally did. And then to finally see it happen, like, you've been through a lot of great moments in history in wrestling. I'm sure that there are still times now where you get excited and you're like, this is going to be great. This is going to be great.
Right. I do. I want my excitement to be genuine,
right?
Because I really am.
So I'm still finding that now. Like, for a long time, I lost that. I wasn't excited to work. I wasn't excited about ideas. I was just like, okay. But now, like with Tully, and then all of a sudden Bret's texting me, and I'm like, what is happening here?
What is my life?
What is going on? And then Mike Tyson walks in, we bump into each other around the corner. I'm like, oh, hey, Mike. And he's like, oh, hey, how are you? Very nice to see you, Spears. And I'm like, what is happening right now? And it's a mind blowing, but again, I feel like a kid starting all over again. And it's like a breath of, you get excited and your heart starts pumping just a little bit quicker. And man,
it's pretty great.
Damn. Wrestling is the best. It is.
Everyone's excited to go to work. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah. It's fun, and it should be fun.
It's fantastic. This is a fantastic conversation we're having with Shawn Spears at AEW Unrestricted. Yeah. When we get back, let's talk a little bit more about Shawn Spears outside of the ring.
Don't tell me how to live, Aubrey.
This is AEW Unrestricted. Tony Schiavone and Aubrey Edwards here with Shawn Spears. Really awesome conversation talking about, day-to-day AEW creative freedom. You kind of touched a little bit on like having a wrestling school, which I've heard a little bit about because I think Dasha's one of your students.
Yeah, Dasha comes by a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like running a wrestling school at the same time you're on television?
So now I have the time to do so.
Yes.
With the AEW schedule. So it kind of came at a very, very unique time. It's myself, my business partner, Matt. He works for WWE. We both run it, and our schedules match up really, really well. It's so rewarding. If you hear a lot of people say, oh, giving back. I'm able to do that while I'm actively working for AEW, but I'm also able to do that, with my wrestling school. And I have a very, you always hear the term, don't forget where you come from. Mm-hmm. I am very, very good at understanding that I was at one point in the same place they are when they walk into my school. They have no idea what they're doing. They're scared to death. Their heart's pumping. They're tired within the first 2 minutes, but the idea that this could lead somewhere, this could be big, this could be everything I hoped it would be, as long as I bust my ass, I can relate to that. But it's wonderful, having a ring at your disposal just to kind of go in and kick around. And I've had people, we've had Swole in there. We've had, Brody Lee comes in. Matt Cardona was just in there recently. Like, we have people come in there all the time. And so sometimes our students get a little bit more out of nowhere, like out of left field. All of a sudden someone walks in and they're like, it's like, yeah, people, I work here, my business partner works there, and we have the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what is appealing about our school.
I mean, it's just a bunch of knowledge and sharing. Like, I see that a lot backstage with you when you've got like matches with enhancement guys and whatnot, just seeing the conversation that happens immediately after and all of the feedback you're giving them and just trying to make them better. It's like, oh no, this guy's definitely a coach. Okay, I get it.
Well, but it goes back to just having empathy and understanding
exactly.
Where they are. On the other hand, like you talk about those enhancement matches for a very long time, I know what those are like. I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. Now, just because you're in that role, then it doesn't mean you're going to be in that role for the rest of your career. It's just, don't look at it as like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just an enhancement talent tonight. Well, yeah, but there's a lesson to be learned in there. You go out and do your job to the best of your ability, and you make that guy that you're working with look as best as he possibly can. There's a good chance you're going to come back and get to do it again. Now, over time, you build a rapport. Now, over time, you do things professionally. You're respectful. You kind of just, the old saying, and I don't mean an old saying, but it was, back to the wall, eyes and ears open, mouth shut.
Yep.
That was it. You do that enough times, someone's going to go, give that kid a chance. He's pretty good.
Sure.
And sometimes that's all you need. It's just that one person at the right time, in a great mood, going, put him in. He'll do okay. And who knows what can happen. So I understand those positions. Anyway, I mean, you saw the last couple of enhancement matches. I like to have fun. I like to kind of make my opponents as best I can, but I like to try and pull something out of them too, personality-wise. So it boils down to understanding those situations and knowing that you're not locked in those forever. So enjoy it while you can.
Love that outlook.
Shawn, you were married last year.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like Jon Moxley in that you work for AEW and your wife works for the WWE. That makes for, I'm sure, a very dynamic relationship. If you probably had one already.
Yeah, well, I got married last year. She hasn't smartened up yet and left. So I still got her fooled.
Yeah.
It makes an interesting dynamic. Yes, I agree. But at the same time, it might not be as, and I'm sorry if this bursts in people's bubbles, but it's not as awkward or odd or,
of course
difficult as it may seem, or people would hope that it would be. It's not like we still have a great deal of time together. Obviously, most businesses in the world are going through the exact same thing because of the pandemic and stuff. So we have a lot of time together, but at the same time, it boils down to we both love professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. She loves what she does. I love what I do. She bounces ideas off me. I bounce ideas off her. We have a school. We go and wrestle against each other. I treat them all the same, man. Whether you're male or female, we go hard. We wrestle, and it's not as difficult as people may think it is. And at the end of the day, it's professional wrestling. It's a part of our lives. Mm-hmm. And it's one that we both embrace and we both support each other. And we're husband and wife first. Everything else falls underneath that. So it's not really that difficult. It's pretty easy.
I love hearing newlyweds talk.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you doing, Tony?
Give it a sign.
I'm doing fine, as a matter of fact.
Basically, you're saying I got another 6 months before I start changing my tune?
No, a couple years.
It's just, listen.
Yeah, I'm kidding. She'll be gone in 6 months. She'll leave me.
Yeah. Okay. We were married 39 years on June 6th.
Oh, wow.
So,
what's the secret, Tony? What's the secret?
Thank you. What secret is having a man cave like this and locking the doors?
Oh, what he's not telling you is that she locks him in.
Oh no, she definitely
right.
does. She definitely
the locks are on the outside. Exactly.
I'm 10 years in, married this past March. So I'm seeing like between the two, like you and Tony, I'm like, okay, no, I see where this is going. Okay. I saw where it was.
Shawn, you mentioned about your school, and what about indie wrestling now? What do you think about that? I mean, we've been in a pandemic, and I know that we wrestle without fans. I know the independent wrestlers can't go out, and I'm sure maybe some of them are, but if there are no fans, they're not going to get paid. Those kids,
right?
What do you think about indie wrestling in 2020?
So I am a product and will always be a product of the independents. I love the independents. I started there, obviously. So when I left WWE recently, or a year and some odd ago, the independents were extremely hot. I had no idea. I had been out of the loop for so long. I had been in a bubble for so long that I hadn't been paying attention. And you hear about certain independents that are big, that they're big popular ones. But everywhere I went after I left for about 2 months, they were super busy and super packed. And the energy was through the roof. And I went like, wow. In 2020, there are independent talent that are making mortgage payments, that are paying for their kids to, play sports for the summer. Like you can make a really good living on the independents if you hustle. Right. But that's the same in life. If you hustle and work hard and bust your ass, be good along the way, you can do very well in anything.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but you can do it.
Yeah, but I mean, you just got to get the ground running. And I tell a lot of our students that come in like, hey, look, if you want this, I don't think you understand how hard it is. You see the lights and cameras, of AEW on a Wednesday night, but what you don't see is the work that's put in when the cameras aren't rolling, when there are no lights, when you're not in a stadium, when you're in a dirty gym or when you're in a community center in the middle of nowhere with 10 or 15 people. That's what it was like when I started. But nowadays, I think young talent, it's a perfect time to break into the industry because independents are hot. To Tony's point, it's a very, very difficult time right now because obviously everything is shut down. So there's a lot of people right now, a lot of great talent without work. So I recently just went on Pro Wrestling Tees and bought like 5 shirts, some people I have never heard of. I just like the designs of their shirts. So it's just a matter of trying to support each other as best they can. As far as I can see too, a lot of independent talent that is not working right now, they're still very upbeat. They're still very positive for the future. You know what I mean? They're just good, hardworking young kids for the most part. I think when things turn around and we're obviously allowed to have crowds back, I think wrestling, I've heard this before, like, oh, how do you think wrestling is going to be? I think we're going to have it's going to go to a whole new level. I think we as performers are going to have a better appreciation for our audience. And I think our audience is going to be like, they're back. We're back. And I think they realize now more than ever that they are just as big a part of a show as the performance in itself. It's a one conglomerate put together that makes a spectacle. And I think they realize that now. And when we're allowed to finally get going, we're going to hit bigger than we were before. And I think the independents are going to thrive more so than ever. It might take a little while to kind of get back off the ground because there's a lot of self-investment. There's a lot of money that goes into those independent promotions that people are forking out of their own pocket. So it might take a heartbeat to kind of kickstart the independents again. But once it gets going, I think everybody's going to kind of rally together. There's going to be some great shows.
I think the independents they've obviously fueled the business, but when you talk about yourself and Aubrey, who have been in the independents, when you get a chance in like AEW or the WWE, you make the most of it. I think it creates harder working, more appreciative kids. I really do. And that's why I always respect you and Aubrey and everybody else who came up through the independents. And I try my best to help you guys with your career because I respect that. I really do. Because I know it's a grind.
It is. I brought one of my first students. I brought her to television. I think it was maybe last month. Can't remember but I brought her to Jacksonville and I just kind of said, just go walk around. Just go walk around on your own and just take a look at everything. And she walked by the set and she walked out through the area and saw the big arena and all that kind of stuff. And I go, the reason why I brought you here today is because I want you to see what things could be. This is what possibilities look like. You don't see that when you're in a warehouse and you're running the ropes in front of 3 or 4 people and you're bumping randomly all over the place and you got Spears and you're yelling at you to get up, move, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, but when you get stuck in that mode for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, you might lose sight of what's possible. Well, walk out there and imagine this place full of people. That's what's possible. And, it's just the realization that could be possible if you really put in the groundwork. And I mean, really, really put in the groundwork. I don't show favoritism with my students. I tell them all the same thing. I go, if you want this bad enough, it can happen. And it can actually happen probably a lot easier today than it could 15, 20 years ago. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to kind of swim through the muddy waters, I guess is probably the most PG way to put it. You just kind of have to navigate through the tough stuff.
Damn.
Well, I can tell you this, Shawn, and I'm sincere about this. You're a credit to our business. And
very nice of you to say, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, because you work hard and you came, just like Aubrey, came from the independents, and I'm hoping and I'm thinking, I'm almost certain that this alliance with Tully Blanchard is going to help you out. I always saying, and I think you would agree, that if you can give great promos, you'll get over. And Tully has given you a great promo. You can talk, and I think that's a sign that there's going to be good things to come for you guys here in the near future. I really do.
I appreciate your kind words, man. I think things are going to turn around. Like, I think now it feels like it's more now or never kind of thing. That's kind of the way we're looking at things right now.
Awesome.
Very good.
Shawn, I wanted to thank you for your time. This conversation, it's been magical. Like, it's really, really awesome getting to chat with you, seeing how your mind works, learning about where you came from, all this fun stuff. So really, really appreciate you being here today. Oh, you guys are fantastic. I was looking forward to this. So thank you. Let's do it again soon. Hell yeah, man. This is AEW Unrestricted, official podcast of AEW. You can watch AEW on TNT every Wednesday, 8 o'clock, 7 Central. Definitely tune in. We've got awesome, awesome wrestling. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you already know this. But I'm Aubrey Edwards. My name is Tony Schiavone. Is it? I had no idea. It is. Handsome devil. Handsome devil. Subscribe to AEW Unrestricted wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week. Love you guys. Peace.